What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be doing a breakdown of our latest release, Paradise. My brother's not with me, but I'm going to go ahead and do the breakdown for us today. We haven't done this before, so I mean, if the quality or if it just doesn't come out great, I apologize in advance. But if it's something that you guys like, go ahead and like and comment anything you want to see. And then, from now on, when we drop releases, we can go ahead and continue doing this. So first off, let's go ahead and play a little bit of it if you haven't heard it. We'll start here. And yeah.
Can you hold me one more time? Send me into overdrive. Your only gets me high. Think I found my paradise. Hold me one more time. Send me into overdrive. Your only gets me high. Think I found my paradise.
All right, so you get the idea. If you want to listen to the full track, you can. It's on our YouTube or anywhere you want to stream it. But basically, let's before we get started, I do want to let you know the vocal itself. I couldn't find, I found the project, like our final project, and this is it. But for some reason, the vocals, which were right here, got all messed up. I don't know if I lost the file or what. So all I have is the stems, which we had stemmed out before mixing and mastering. And I kind of brought them in. So I'm not gonna have any like processing or anything on those really. I guess you could see like main vocal and stuff, but the vocal itself we got from Vocalfy, and this has kind of been like an older project. We started it last year sometime, and we're really gonna start trying to have more original vocals. But in this one, this vocal kind of fit well with the song, and we really like the vocal, so we just used Vocalfy samples. So you may hear it in other people's tracks because it's basically like Splice, but the sample library. So anyway, let's start out, I guess, at the kick and bass group, which I don't think I always, recently I've been grouping kick and bass on all of our tracks, but I didn't in the past. And the reason is I have on the group itself this Pro Q, which has this EQ just basically to help with dampening the low end and kind of take some of the high end out of it here. I don't remember which YouTube video I saw, but I saw a YouTube video of someone doing this, and it really helped our low end at one point. So I kind of saved the preset, and then I've been using it every time on a group for both of them. So that's all that is. You can see right here, basically, what is it, like dynamic? I forget what it's called. It's been a while, but dynamic EQ, I believe, where it's, only when it's hitting that area is it going to compress it or bring it down. I had another glue compressor here, didn't end up using it, I guess, kept that off. I think I was just messing with it, but didn't end up needing it, so. All right, so the kick itself, we brought, I remember when I started this project, I was using a reference from, I believe, an Abo track. So I think I took the kick from an Abo track and sampled it. So I see no problem in doing that. I think a lot of producers do it. You see it all the time in tutorials. People are taking kicks from other people. So yeah, it was the sound that I wanted, so took it from there. It was a pretty clean cut. I did do some EQing and kind of making it our own and taking out some things And then automation as far as filtering goes. I always put my kick in mono. Sometimes I'll do like bass mono on it and have, the higher ends not monoed out, but I don't know. Felt like doing it completely mono on this one, I guess. So let's listen to the kick itself. Let's see, I guess before turn these off, and then maybe we can even turn that off. So first, I guess let's check it with and without mono. So seems quieter. It does have some stereo information there, which I probably could have left it in stereo now that I think about it. But anyway, then I did EQ some. What I've been doing is EQing on bass and on kick. I'll just cut off the lows at 30 hertz. I don't do a sharp curve. Some people do a sharp curve, but I usually just keep it on this lighter one. At 30, I do it on my bass and my kicks, and I took out some of the high end. Now this, because I took it from a track, it does have a hat in it, so you can hear the high end of the hat there on it, but I don't know, it didn't really bother me in the full context of the song, so I kind of left it. So without the EQ and then with the EQ, so I'm bringing down some of that thud here in the 400 hertz range, which usually 4 to 7. Yeah, see 7, I brought it down a bit here too. 7's usually pretty knocky. I usually take that down a bit if it feels like it's not gluing or sticking in the track the way that I want it to. And then you have here, which is usually where your kick, I find, is the most thuddy. I bring that down if it needs. It's almost like, I guess, I would say kind of compression, where you're bringing down that high end peak, kind of forming it into the track a bit more. I don't know. For me, it sounded like it needed it, and that's how it came out. But so before, after, just kind of taming it down a bit. I guess I tried to bring down the high end a bit because of that hat. I'm assuming that hat sound in there, so I brought that down a bit over here some more to try to tame that a little bit more. And then I put that 30 again, which you don't need to do, but sometimes I'll layer that low end cutoff just to kind of tame it out a bit more. So I don't know, to me it sounds a bit more solid. And yeah, so that's pretty much the kick. I did do a reverse kick at one point right before the drop. I guess I did leave that in there. I just basically sampled it from one of the kicks, reversed it, and did some fading on it. I didn't do any processing on this one, but see how it sounds? Yeah, simple. All right. Now we'll go into the bass. Now the bass, the group itself, well, I guess we'll go to the bass itself first, and then we'll go to the group. And I probably grouped it so I could do some processing outside of this group, but I think I also probably had another bass in here at one point maybe and changed it. I don't know. So let's see here. All right, so that's the bass we got. Now the notes here. You can see we have some swing on it. Yeah, I've been working on trying to get better swing in our tracks, and not putting everything on grid. I think a lot of times I used to put things directly on grid. So yeah, I think I might have even played this one in, and then a lot of times I'll play the bass line in, and I'll record it, and that way it has like a natural swing. So I like doing that. The bass patch that I used is the Serum Takes Forever to Open. Got that Serum 2 now. Actually opens a lot better, a lot faster. It's going to be from Evo Sounds, Jealous preset from volume 6 right here. Don't think I tweaked too much on it, but I may have. A lot of times we'll mess with like the ADSR depending on the track and if we feel that it needs it. So did that. Put an EQ on it here, and then let me see here. Okay, so let's just turn these off for now, and then we'll come back to them. So obviously this EQ is doing automation for like when you filter in and out the low end, and fills and things like that. This EQ was just to tame, again, I think I did the 30. Yep, 30 here with that roll off, and then I rolled this off at 325. So we'll do a before and after on that. And honestly, it wasn't a huge difference, so that's that. Then we added a decapitator, beefy preset. I brought it down maybe. Usually this moves when it's tweaked, but I don't think that's how the preset is originally, so I think I must have brought it down a bit, but I mean, it's barely doing anything, but okay. Decapitator there, and then again the automation for fills and times when you want to filter out the low end. I have a utility on here with using the bass mono this time, so anything below 200 hertz is going to be in mono. And then I added the shaper box, which is basically just the drive, not preset, but the drive plugin, I guess, for it. And I just have it doing some, movement, basically just trying to find anything I can to create movement. So adds a little bit of distortion at certain points. Very minimal. We kind of went back and forth on this, whether we wanted to leave this in there, but I thought it added just a tiny bit of movement that, you want to add some variation so things don't stay too stagnant. Then the group itself have another 30 roll off. I really like to control the low end because I don't know, a lot of times it comes out. We're still working on getting better at low end, I would say, honestly, but yeah, this is how it came out for us. So cutting off that 30, I have some dynamic EQ, cutting or bringing down some peaks here. And so I guess we can go before and after with this. Again, minimal. I tried a glue compressor, didn't end up using it. And then these soothes, so I saw in a video, I don't remember where it was, but basically adding these soothes and side chaining them to like your vocal, or I mean, I did leads and vocal on this one. So what I do is I just bring it in and leave the default preset, and then I'll usually just bring this up to 7. That's what I saw in the video, and like a monkey, I just repeated it and copied it. But yeah, so I did it on the synths and the vocal. That way, whenever the synths or vocal are there, the bass isn't overtaking them, but obviously it's still going to be there. Basically just side chaining it out of the way on certain instruments. You can do it with other things. I just use Soothe because I saw it in the video and seems to be more dialed in than just a full side chain, I guess. It's just certain frequencies. So then I have just using Kickstarter 2 for the side chain, 93%, and this preset here. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then an auto filter for more filtering at certain sections. And you can see, so total kick and bass group here together. All right, so that would be the kick and bass. And then going into drums, Let's start out. So when I start a song, I'll usually start with kick, bass, and then I'll do like the classic Boots and Cats type, thing. So it'll be pretty much just, and that's from there. I'll go into further drums and percussion and um, try to usually find vocals, things like that. Um, Vocals sometimes come last. I think on this one I built the track first and then added the vocals, but I can't remember exactly. So let's start. So for the hat itself, just have a hat that I found from a pack that I had probably, and yeah, just did some EQing here, and you cut out. I usually cut out like the super high highs on a lot of instruments, and then cutting out at 125 and higher. I've started to now go a little bit lower to maybe like 110, 110, sometimes 100. But just cutting out that low end stuff that you don't need. And then I have some automation here for the gain, which looks like didn't even actually end up using it because it was for this build, but we ended up taking the hats out of the build, I guess. So, but it's still there. Kickstart, which this one is not on anymore because I probably just sidechained everything at the drums group. And then saturation, what I'll usually do is, bring up the saturation and then bring it down the same volume, more or less. Not every time is it like that, but just added some analog clip there. And then brought up some in this area. And again, cutting out, after I do saturation on things that don't need low end, I'll cut out the low end again with an EQ. That way, because this is sometimes going to bring up those frequencies again, and we don't need them, so cutting that out. And then we got Soothe to just kind of calm it down a bit. Use the harsh hi-hat preset. Not sure if this is the normal depth. I will tweak that sometimes, but I usually start with a preset and then kind of tweak, if I need that much or not. But all right, cool. So that's the hat. And then the clap. Well, let's see. Let me see if what we'll do is let's delete this because I didn't end up using it, and let's see the before and after. I honestly don't even know if it's better before or after because I've never done that. So let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, tames some of the harsher frequencies, so I don't know. Minimal stuff, guys. Minimal. This clap, it's a Noizu clap. Looks like thought it sounded good, so I used it. Again, I was referencing an Abo track at the time when I started it. Not sure if I kept the same exact drums that I started with. Sometimes we'll go in later on and change them out if they don't sound great. Cut out the high end on this, the low end, and did a little increase here of 1.15 dB at 1700. Compressor, but it's not on, so didn't end up using that. Saturation, see, brought it up about 7.4, brought it down 6.7. So I am increasing some volume with this. A lot of people say you're not supposed to, and you're supposed to, see what it's actually doing. I don't know. I'll use it for some volume gain sometimes. And then automation on the gain itself. It's going to be the same spot as the hat, but this time we actually have the clap in there, so it was actually used. And then some further EQ. Don't know why, but I guess I thought it needed it. Clap itself. Probably could have been a little bit shorter, but all right. So now I have, so what I'll do is, because of the way I render the stems out for mixing and mastering, is I'll do the clap and hat by themselves, and then I'll make another group inside called others, all other drums. So pretty much just have this reverse clap or reverse crash, and surprisingly, I only have it in that spot. I may have just forgot to put it everywhere else, which, I mean, it is what it is, but usually I'll put those, at most of the transitions. We got this perk noise here. Thought it was unique and added that. This other one here. Which we added that. I guess it was this that added that delay. Let's see. Yeah. All right, let's go back to this one quick and just see if we did any processing on it. Yeah, so with this one, looks like we did some EQ and then saturation. I must have not liked something here or thought it was sticking out too much in the mix, so brought that down. It must have sounded better in the mix with it kind of tucked away a bit, but we have that, and then saturation. Again, just bringing up and down. I usually don't like dial in saturation amazingly, like, to super detail. I just kind of crank it up till it's sounding better, but not super distorted or sounding crunchy or anything, or changing the sound. You don't really want it to change the sound, or unless you do for like some sound design stuff, but then I'll bring it down in volume just to kind of around where it was. And then this utility, I have a utility on my default new track, so that's all that's for. I'm not actually doing anything with it. Kickstart, I guess I have a kickstart doing some, just sidechain on here, but didn't sidechain it to anything specifically, just have it on the quarter, and it's very little, but left that on there. Usually I'll end up doing sidechain on the group anyway, but I guess I never took it off of the actual sound. And then EQ, just bringing out the lows again, just making sure like the saturation and stuff didn't add those lows again, which normally I would put this right after the saturator and not after the kickstart. Again, just left it, I guess, didn't realize it. And what do we got here? So, okay, so back to this one. I guess I did the same. Oh, this is the same sound. So the only difference is I added, let's see, was this for that delay. Yeah, I guess that's it. So it goes back and forth between the two. So we got, and then, so must have fit well on the track. And then we have a perk loop here, which I probably got off Splice. But actually I'm not too sure. Probably off Splice though. I usually get everything from Splice. If I need like a loop or something, I'll just go in there. I use the Splice bridge so that it syncs up BPM and key and everything, and I'll just go through presets till something sounds cool and then tweak it if I need to. Looks like I did mess with so what I'll usually do is Control U to quantize loops, and then I'll put my own groove on it, and then that will make sure that everything I'm putting in here is usually at the same groove, but sometimes I'll forget, or it just doesn't sit right, so I'll keep it the original groove and it feels even better. So transient mode, you doing this trick that everyone talks about, putting it down to 55 so that it's not as long. Makes it less invasive. I have it panned left by 13, which isn't a lot. And then let's see, but I have this one going right below it, so they kind of even each other out. As far as processing, basically just have this EQ, and really only wanted this area, wanted it a bit softer, I think, so we'll go without it. I think I wanted it less invasive. I didn't want it to have that much, mid or low end. So I ended up just doing this EQ, and that's how it came out. this one, so again, just threw it in, panned it right so that it would offset the last one. And this one I didn't even, I don't think I messed with like the groove or anything actually on this one. And then also, oh shoot, and then also didn't end up doing the beats mode or anything. So let's see. Yeah, just wanted that one how it was. Let's see them together because one's left, one's right. Pretty simple. And then we got this one below it where again didn't do much processing. Honestly probably could have, but I also on the groups will cut off, see, like I cut off the low end here and then even again here. So I usually will do it on the actual sounds themselves, though also on their track, but didn't end up doing it on these. Sometimes I'm just like in the zone in that flow state and I just don't even like, I forget certain things. Usually I'll go back and fix them, but whatever. Didn't do any processing really. And this one I did quantize it and then probably put a groove on because yeah, it's definitely not the same groove that it had when it originally was in there. So the three together. Cool, so those are the perks. And then we got the shaker here, which I just found a shaker and put it into simpler. And it's pretty short. I didn't want it too long and cut out a lot of the low end and some of the high. Sometimes shakers can be kind of annoying if they're really, the real high end is kind of, you know, stabbing at your ears. So let's see. Not much of a difference, honestly, but I wanted to, you know, make sure it didn't build up over time with all the other instruments into some really sharp, annoying high-end stuff. So probably that's why I cut it. This, again, is just the utility I leave on my track, and then I have a kickstart on here, which I think I wanted one here to kind of help the groove of it, as well as like the, you know, obviously getting out of the way of the kick, but the group has sidechain on it, so didn't technically need to do that, but I think it helped with the groove. I also, with each note, changing the velocities of them. That way it doesn't feel so stagnant. And I'll usually put a groove. I don't think I did on this one actually, but usually I'll put a groove on these in like 16th hats and even just the regular hats, but I don't think I did on the shaker. But yeah, pretty simple. Again, I mean, I'll process things, but a lot of the times, if it sounds good, I'll just leave it. And usually I do a bit more processing on things, though. I'll put more like saturation, at least to try to bring it out some or give it that extra oomph that it needs. And yeah, so this next one, I had another perk here. Just basically cut out the low end, didn't do much with it. Just a random perk sound that I thought sounded good, and looks like it's from Excellent Sounds, and these two are both from them. Might be the same one, I'm not sure. Let me see. No, so different. Processing, no processing on this one. I didn't even take out the low end on this one either. But yeah, so just threw those in, thought they sounded good wherever I ended up putting them. Again, not exactly on the grid. I'm trying to create as much groove as I could. I think on this one, I'm starting to try to pay more attention to groove and getting my drums sounding a lot better. So I think on this one was when I first started looking into actually getting a good groove. I think I was kind of inspired by Abo and putting things off grid and kind of creating that that groove that kind of keeps you locked in. So this is probably a first attempt at that, and this is what's come out of it so far. But this one, again, same thing, didn't really do much processing. It's another little perk thing that I thought was cool. And then this is a top loop. Definitely sounds better by itself without the EQ, but I think when it was in the track, that EQ kind of helped tame it and not fight against other things or be too aggressive and take over other things. So yeah, it does sound. I mean, if you're listening in headphones, it does sound brighter and more in your face and better without this. But I think in the context of the song is the reason that I put this on here. Again, default utility, and then so I put a glue compressor on here. I think just to tighten it up a bit. Maybe just to tame some of the peaks a bit. I mean, it's the release is pretty quick, so I think it was just to catch those peaks, but yeah, it doesn't change the sound too much. And then we have a ride here, cutting out the highs. Usually I'll cut out the lows on this too. Didn't end up doing that, but the rides can get really crispy in the highs too sometimes. So probably just wanted to, again, make sure it didn't get too harsh in the high end. Oh. And I'll a lot of times pan my rides to the left, just depending on the track. I mean, sometimes I'll leave them center, sometimes to the right, doesn't matter, but I pan this one left, so usually I'll pan them though out of the way. Been also working on getting our stereo, like using the stereo field more, not just volume and things like that. So trying to, make things wider. So, but again, not much processing on that. The crash, let's see. These crashes by Big Z, I really like them. I've been using them, and he has like reverse crashes and regular crashes of the same sound, so I'll just use those usually from the pack. And on this one, cutting out the low end, which it looks like it had some there, not a ton. I tried working on a delay by myself. Ended up using this delay that I got from West End. It's a crash and ambient delay that I saw him use in a project, I believe, and then just copied it, but without it. With it. Definitely makes the crashes feel more alive, I guess you could say. And then I have a kickstart on there. Just have it synced to a quarter note. Don't have the side chain to the audio, but to the kick or anything. At 34%. And again, the groups are side chaining everything, so that's just was left on there probably. I don't even think that I needed that on there, but. And then this, that was, I believe it was a sample. Yeah, so from a Tool Room, from Mark Knight Volume 2, I guess. But I really liked this. I thought it was cool for the fill into the break coming out of the drop. So added that, took some high end and low end out, and pretty much it. Then we got for the fill, I've been grouping the fill stuff separately. Really depends on the track. Don't have to, but sometimes it's easier to adjust things and, not have, sometimes I'll have like channel. Oh, actually, before we even go into this, let's go back up to the groups for the drums. So all others, one trick, I think it was from West End. He said something about like panning all others except for obviously your staple like hat and clap. So what I did was added a little bit of pan just to give it some movement. It's not a crazy amount. You don't want it to be panning like crazy, but on all others, that's what I've been doing. Seems to be pretty cool to give it some stereo and some movement. I've been I cut out the low end. This one I did at 115, which I think is better than 125. For some reason, I had it set to 125 at first for my default, and I think it's just a bit too much, But I'll A/B this auto pan. Let's see if we can even tell a difference here. Yeah, I could definitely tell a difference. Kind of throwing it a little bit. If you have headphones on, you can probably tell. Maybe not on speakers, but gain here must have brought the gain up a little bit on this. May have been an accident, honestly. I usually don't use utilities for this. And I have it -8 and then plus 8.8 here, so I don't know why I did that, but I did. Kickstart, so this is going to be sidechain on all others group. I only have 25%. I usually don't do too crazy amount for why did I sidechain it to the clap? I don't know if that was a mistake or if the clap was fighting with something, but I'm just noticing that now. So I have this sidechain to the clap. So whether that was supposed to happen like that or not, that's how the song released, I guess. So 25%, not a lot. And then again, the regular sidechain is going to be up here in the actual drums group, I'm sure. So up here in the drums group, which covers the all others as well, but we have another 115 cutoff, decapitator. I use drum fattener 1. Not sure if I tweaked it at all. Probably just a little bit somewhere, but without it, with it, makes it a little crispier. I also have this drum bus here, which with that we could do without, and then with it also. Let's take off that EQ too. And I guess we could take off this EQ also, just so we hear as we go along. But let's see here. All right, so with drum bus, without, with, brought the crunch up by 15. It's only 16%. It's not much as far as dry wet, but and then we have this EQ to kind of tame the lows again because of the saturation that we're doing here. Then we have the FOMO channel strip, using this for like automations as far as like washouts, low pass, gain, things like that, for usually for builds. You can see like where I bring them, turn it on and stuff. Yeah, mostly builds. And then auto filter for filtering, and shaper box. What did we do with this? Okay, so this I used again another drive preset. We can do with or without it. Honestly, it's subtle, but you can kind of hear it's giving it like a swing, like a so. You can see it feels like it's like throwing it a bit. Another EQ just to cut out the low end again, and then kickstart sidechain to the kick. And it's only 17%. Very minimal. When I do hats or drums, it's going to be very minimal because you don't want to cut off the transients too bad. At least for the most part. I know sometimes some tracks you'll probably want a little bit more, but and then utility, I have it just giving it some width at 127. Usually I'll use wider, but for some reason I use width on this on the utility, so it is what it is. All right, so that's drums. Fills, again, like I said, sometimes you don't want all this processing from the drums groups, so I'll just end up doing fills by themselves. And take a look here. This one, we ended up taking it out anyway. This one, we could turn that off actually, but whatever, we'll leave it on just in case. But so on the group itself, I have just auto filter. Don't know why that's even on there. I guess I had done something with auto filter here at some point. Not sure why really there, but maybe it's helping out. All right, so this one, just a random glitch type of sample that I found probably on Splice. Added that in there right before the break, coming out of the drop. Didn't put it anywhere else, which I probably could have, and that was probably a mistake on my end, honestly. But let's see, this is going to be before the drop. This is going to be yeah, so processing on that glitch at all. And then also on this one, I don't usually do too much processing unless I'm like sound designing the fill stuff, because not much else is going to be there, right? So no low end and stuff is going to be fighting. If there's like a crazy amount of low end and I don't want it, I'll cut it out, obviously. But yeah. So yeah, some claps there, and that didn't need any sort of processing, so that's that. So far, we go to the drop here. This is what we've got. Cool. And then, so with the leads, let's take a look here. All right, so we did some automation. Let's turn that off. But we didn't end up using this ARP thing, but it was something that we're experimenting with at first, I guess. Didn't end up making the cut. We have this piano here. So I think we were thinking about taking this out, but I don't know. We like the way that the groove that it gave to the feel that it gave to the track. We have this. This is for velocity. I just use the piano preset. Sometimes I'll tweak it. I don't know if I did on this one, but and I'm using these easy chord things. This is I think this is from some YouTube video. I honestly don't remember, but FB2B, I'm sure if you Google that, you can find it. But it's a easy chord rack, basically helps you write chords. You just put it in the key, and then that way you don't have to, know all your chords and things like that. Sorry, I'm like spacing out. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I found that in this track it worked, but there's another track that I wrote using that, and it was throwing things out of key. So with racks like that, you got to be careful. I don't think I'm going to use them from now on. I'll just write out the chords. It's just for me, it was kind of, I get lazy when it comes to writing chords. So if I ever need chords again, I'll probably just write them myself. But yeah, it ended up working with this one. This M1 piano is just this rack that I have with the M1 here from Korg. And this was a preset that I had found and processing from someone online. Don't remember. It was years ago. Had it saved, ended up using it, and it ended up, working for the track. But yeah, pretty much just using Haas Effect. This is from Kilohertz, I believe. And then the EQ here, cutting out the low end, and then some of the highs, taming up here, and then bringing up some of that higher mids here, more like highs, I guess. But yeah, and that was just a rack that I found and processing from someone online on a video, but don't remember who really. You can copy it if you need to. Utilities, just default one. Saturator, just did some saturation, and again, analog, just brought it up a bit, brought it down a bit, and that's pretty much how I've been doing saturation. Then I throw EQ afterwards to cut out any low end. Put it at 140 for some reason on here. I think it was fighting with the bass at some point or something, so we were cutting it a little bit higher than we normally would, I think. Compressor didn't end up using it. Looks like we might have been trying to use it for sidechain or something, but didn't end up using it. I made this little stereo group here, basically just a wider, and then I went about 32% on that, and then I have the MSED right after it in the group. That way you can kind of check and make sure nothing's going out of phase or going too wide to where it's not even going to be heard in mono. So then I have some filtering that we did here. looks like we have, yeah, I mean, just automation as far as going through the builds and breaks and things like that. And check that out, pause it and check all that out. But kickstart added here for sidechain, which I don't know. I think, yeah, I guess I didn't sidechain on the group. So yeah, sidechained on the actual instrument itself here, and about 66%. Usually don't go all the way with leads and stuff because it's gonna make them sound different, and a lot of times you don't want that. So a little vocal short delay to kind of give it some, make it feel a little more full, I believe, and more give it some stereo imaging. I don't know, it just gives it a cool, really short delay. I think the texture on that, or the way it sounded, just felt a little bit better, so I left it on there. And then we have this. I called it a dots delay. Found a one-shot synth and put it into a simpler, and that's pretty much how it came about. Added this. Yeah, added that on there, which made it sound a little bit different. The original was, oh wow, we did quite a bit of things on this one, but original sounded like a little deeper, which may have, I don't know, it may have sounded better in the end, but no, I mean, I think it sounds pretty cool. A little bit different than just something you would always hear. So I've been trying to experiment with like processing to try to make things unique, not just throwing things in there. And I think this is when I was starting to really dive into that. Cutting out some of the high end, low end again. Delay, got some delay on here. Oh, so maybe without this delay. Yeah, so without the delay, it's just the one shot, right? And then I added that. And then the delay. Yeah, with some ping pong and feedback 50, dry wet 50. Bringing down some of the width here. I think it was just too wide at one point. It felt like it was going like it was going to make you dizzy, so I just brought that width down a bit. I guess I brought it back up here though. I don't know, but I think with wider, it keeps that mono. So bringing it in with utility and then using wider to kind of give it that stereo image is sometimes needed, or at least in my mind, I think it's needed. Do with it what you will. And auto filter, just doing some automation throughout the track. Probably for the builds. Yep. And then kickstart, which we ended up turning off. Probably. Oh, that's weird because we don't even have, I don't think, sidechain on the group. So that kickstart may have been supposed to be on or whatever, but yeah. So that was off, and then the EQ, just bringing out some more low end. Maybe I just felt like it needed to cut out some more of that low end. I'm not too sure, honestly. And then we have some automation on this gain, but yeah, it looks like we did bring it down a bit here in the build. So, and then if we go to the leads synth group, cutting out that low end again, did it at 100 hertz this time here, which is normally on the groups I'll do like 100. I think that's probably better than anything higher for a full group, but a little bit of compression and saturation, and then added a drum bus for a little bit more saturation and distortion, 20% crunch, and then I brought this down to 25%. Cutting out the lows again after all that saturation, distortion, and then Endless Smile, for, I'm assuming, builds, because, yep, so end of the builds here. Just kind of, washing them out and getting that, big effect. And the auto filter, again, probably for builds, just normal automation that most people will do. Actually, on this one, it looks like it was on the it was on the second build, but it was actually coming back in for the lead because we wanted to kind of crash into the build, bring that away, and then kind of build it back up into the build, and then the drop. So we can show you here if you want to see. So it brings the leads down a bit, and then they're filtering back in. And yeah, pretty much it. So that's the synth lead group. Vocal, again, kind of messed up. So I only have these two that I just brought in the stems from when we rendered them out for mix and mastering. So this vocal itself is, I can't really go into it much. And then effects. With effects, we have, let's see. So on the group itself, we'll start on the group. I have just EQ cutting out 115 and below, and then the auto filter, just doing automation in the builds again. Bringing out that low end in the builds, making everything thin out, and then when the drop hits a lot harder. Everyone does that. Everyone knows about it. Not going to go too into it. And then you have an endless smile, kind of doing the same thing, but also washing it out at the same time with some reverb and stuff like that. We have this vocal thing, which I'm not sure if we actually left this on or not when we rendered it out, because at one point we didn't want to. I recorded this. This is just a vocal of recording from me, I believe. Yeah, doing like a doot, doot, and then I just put it in a simpler and then, placed it out in MIDI. But I don't know if we actually left that in there. We may have, but just bringing out the low end and the high end. Did some reverb. This is my favorite reverb plugin, and I don't know, it was given away for free from, I believe, Native Instruments at one point. Yeah, and I don't know why, I just like the way that it sounds on the this one I actually changed. I don't know, I don't usually use the presets. I usually just bring it in the default preset. I'll tweak the mix and the size, and yeah, I don't know, I like the way it sounds, so I usually use the ROM. And then you have utility. I guess I did some auto-tune on here. We just have the auto-tune access. We don't have the full suite of all these, so this is very basic auto-tune. Added that on there, and then just some more EQ work to cut out the lows again, and then the high highs, and kind of keep it more of a in the background type of thing. So, and let's see, what do we got here? This we didn't end up using, but that was something that we had experimented with and thought we might end up using, but didn't. This is probably just like a perk type of thing. Okay, yeah. I mean, this could go, I guess, in drums too. But ended up putting it in effects, just like a wood clack thing. Cutting out the lows. No, not much processing on that. Reverse crashes. Simple, just reverse crash, cutting out a lot of the lows on that. These days, I don't know if I'll cut out this as much. A lot of times I'll just cut it out at 100, because if you cut out too much, you can kind of feel things either feeling too separated or just not, your track's not feeling full. So I've been cutting out less and less, honestly, and if it's not a huge issue, I'm just leaving it in there. This reverse, looks little reverse transition type of thing. I use that in a lot of my tracks, honestly, and just a little effect that I like to use. You can find those in almost any sample pack, really. Build noise. Don't remember how I made this, but I've been using the same one. Probably going to make a new one soon, but simple. I'm cutting out most of the sound itself. Don't like it too thick. I like it more like you can feel it, but I don't want it to be too like mid-heavy and taking over stuff. This little Stinger violin, this is just for like ambient stuff. I have it pitch up at the beginning because if you think of it like a violin, you're going to start out slow and it's going, but I don't know. I saw that in a video. I don't remember who taught me that. I think I stopped doing that now, but I was trying that out at one point, and it can sound cool, but you have to make sure you just have to make sure it fits in the song and it just doesn't sound random or like stick out like a sore thumb, because I've had it at tracks where it just does not sound good, so I won't put that automation in there, but it's pretty much just a little bit of automation here in envelopes, pitch bend, MIDI control. But as far as that, cutting out the really high highs because this thing is hard, can be harsh. And then also the lows. This is just a background sting, I believe, from Sound Factory. And background sting, it's from it's this Matroda pack. I don't know. I got it from Kick and Bass from somewhere. I don't remember. Years ago, I believe. This Hype Builder, which I really like. We've been putting this in a lot of our tracks, in the builds especially. I don't know, it just builds it up, gives it that hype that we like to have in there. I'll tweak it sometimes, but yeah, as far as like processing on it, just cutting out some low, and then there was a frequency here that I must not have liked or just wanted to cut out. Yeah, so you can feel it's a lot heavier with that frequency in there. Wanted to cut that out. I was probably fighting other things and making it sound kind of muddy. Utility, this is just the stock one on my tracks again. Did some more stereo, only 15%. It's pretty wide already. And then MSED, make sure it's not over wide. And some kickstart. This one is less to sidechain it from the kick and more for sound design. Left it on sync, and using this one, which is a lot harsher of a side chain, and then just on every quarter. That way you can feel it bounce there. That's more for like groove and less of getting it out of the way of the kick. Got a pad here. You can see I did some automation here with the EQ, and I think this was on both of them. Yeah, so I basically grouped them together like this, and I did automation. This is using a Contact Instrument, Analog Dreams. I think it was given away by Native Instruments for free at one point. All of these are pretty much free. I haven't paid for any of the Contact stuff because they are expensive. Pitched it down, 12 semitones. I'll leave one of these on my MIDI tracks by default so that I can easily bring MIDI notes down. I don't have to go into the actual clip and like, shift up, shift down on all of them. But utility, so kickstart. This one, again, I think this one I may have been using to get it out of the way of the kick, but there's one on the group too, I believe. We went over that already, but I think, oh no, there isn't one. Okay, so normally I will put a kickstart on the group too, but I guess I didn't on this one. Lower pad. Okay, and then we have some saturation on it. This one I went up about 7 and then brought it down almost 10. So, I mean, it's random how I do it, but leaving it on analog and then cutting out the low lows, just to avoid like any muddiness. And yeah, vocal pad. This one is, what is this one? Analog Dreams again. It's another one. This one is the Blurry Skies. Sounds, I guess, must have been, it's more like a vocal. Yeah, so more like a vocal. This one I brought up 12 semitones, and then also had the same automation on it. I think I just brought the same processing down. Saturation's a bit different. This one I boosted to crap with this drive and didn't bring it down. And then cutting out the lows and then widening it. So, and then this random one I have here, I also got this from Contact. I must have flattened it out, but I did get this one from Contact also. And guess I didn't really cut anything out. This probably should have been, cut out on the low end a bit more. But yeah, no processing after the fact. I already, I processed it probably and then, ran it into audio. So probably was processing on it at some point. Laser, this is just a random laser. Simple, cutting out the lows, not much processing. Down sweep, same thing, cutting out the lows. Guess I boosted the crap out of the width on this utility, but I mean, it works. I think certain things I'll do a little crazy with, like if there's just white noise or something that's not a major element of the track, I'll experiment with boosting it like crazy, even if I don't believe it's going to work well in mono. Then I have this drop riser thing for the, did we even end up using, so we didn't use the down sweep actually, so don't worry about this wasn't in there, but this drop riser we did end up using. And that was just to give it to amp it up a bit in the drop. So yeah, that's in there. Build snare. This is a build snare that I made at some point, and I bring it in from old projects. Probably got to work on build snare soon and make a newer one, but I've been using this one for a few projects. Has some processing, some saturation, just boosting around 1780. Around 2K is like claps and snares and stuff. If you boost those, it really kind of helps get that punch in there, I feel like. But if you do too much, it can sound like crap too, so just be careful with that. I cut out the low end, saturation, again, up 5, down basically 5 also. This one, just a ambient string type of thing. I put an EQ on here. It has very subtle movement. It looks like I did some automation. Not sure if I meant to leave that in on purpose or not, but very little coming through. And then you got your kickstart. Kickstart, and also the here auto pan here. Let me see how it sounds. Yeah, so auto pan just kind of in the background. I put this frog synth thing we ended up using also, just cutting out the low end on it. Just a random thing. Sometimes I'll just be going through and samples. I'll find something that sounds kind of different. I try to find things that sound different to everything you hear in every track. And I don't know. Sometimes I think that doesn't work out and makes your track not feel like it fits in the genre or feels too different from things. And I'm realizing you want to kind of find sounds that sound similar to everything else that in the genre that you're making, but at the same time, you got to try to be different so you don't sound like everyone else also. I don't know. That's my opinion, but yeah. So anyway, this isn't that crazy of an element. I'm just saying the thought process behind adding random things like this is that, trying to be different, trying to stand out, trying to experiment, I guess, with different stuff. So random thing. I'd cut out the low on that. These two I use on every track. I just put them throughout the whole track. It's just white noise and then also crowd noise. So this one is crowd noise, and you can see it's minus 54. So it's just there to give it that extra little bit of oomph. You can turn them up more if you want, but you don't want it to sound too wet. Like the whole track overall might sound too wet. So yeah, crowd noise, white noise. I just leave them how they are. They're two samples I found. And yeah, you can see the names of them here and probably find them somewhere, but I just run them through all my tracks like that. Volume on those, by the way, really depends on the track, and I usually mix those in with headphones at the end. At the end, sorry. All right. Then we got this, coming down to the last few elements here, but we got this. Basically just an impact for coming out of the break into the drop. This is coming out of the drop, or out of the break into the build. Just cutting out the low end on that. This is going to be another one, I'm sure, with a bit of delay and stuff. Actually, I really like this one. I use it to come out of drops and then obviously into the build. You can see here, no processing on that one. This, I think, is an extra track that we didn't use. Same with, so this is a little Cashmere exhaust sample that I put at the beginning of the drops. Just gives it that little extra like oomph hit when the drop hits. And I mean, it's tiny. I use it at the beginning of the drop. You can hear. It's just there at the beginning. You can't even really hear it. Some songs I'll make it more prominent to where you can hear it, but this one it's not really audible. I wouldn't even say. I mean, it's there. You'll feel it. It's more of a feel. You'll feel if I remove it. This MIDI track doesn't look like we had anything. Yeah, it's an empty simpler. This is what's this? Oh, so we ended up getting these two racks here from Cloverdale, and we use these to add like ambience and things like that in builds. So we take these, what is this, like a bongo, and then we add this Cloverdale rack onto it, and it just gives it that delay. So without it, with it, it's nice. It adds a nice element inside like breaks and builds and stuff. When there's less elements, that kind of just gives it more texture and stuff like that. So we'll play it in the drop here, or in the build here. You can hear it. It's subtle in the background, but it gives it that that element. I don't know. Sounds cool to us. Cloverdale brought it up to us when we were doing a one-on-one session with him at some point, and we saved those racks. This is another one, different rack, but this one will give you it's just a cool delay for like a snare or clap or something like that. And I've experimented with different like perks and things like that. It doesn't have to be a clap or snare, obviously, but so. And they just kind of alternate. Really love those. I use them in most of the tracks that we make. And then again, the vocal, which is just the stems. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel like sometimes we put a little bit too many elements in tracks. I mean, I've watched a lot of other people's breakdowns, and they seem a lot like more simple. And we're kind of learning to use elements that are going to actually make an effect in the track and stop stacking things that don't need to be stacked or layered. And yeah, I don't know. It can end up being a mess if you put too many, but that's how we ended up running through this track. And I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Again, this is my first time doing a breakdown on one of our tracks, and just thought, might be cool for someone, especially like a newer producer that wants to learn some things. Hopefully, you learned something. Hopefully, this was helpful. If there's anything specific that you'd like me to do as far as production goes or going through any tracks that we have, let me know. Probably end up doing this for any of our future releases too. Hope you guys like the track. If you haven't heard it yet, go ahead and it's out on all streaming platforms. Check it out. Song Paradise. And yeah, I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.